remember that they're changing my voice. So what is going on is something that the churches and the state and the governing class and mental health, etc., the corporations, the social clubs, they're collaborating on. It is best described as a satanic process. And the satanic corporate cult system and network that we see at play here, okay, are key in all this. In fact, the corporate cult response is the most shocking thing that we see in these riots that are taking place in Los Angeles, Santa Ana, San Francisco, and these are places with a significant LGBT community, okay? And it's not just the LGBT community doing this. There's a lot of people in these cults who feel stuck. I'd imagine that's usually how it goes. In my research into cults, I found that people often feel like they're trapped, like in a gang or something. The police, with their code of silence, they feel trapped. Part of them wants to escape. Part of them just has a sort of defeatist mentality, and they've decided to roll with it. A huge part of what is sad is that they get these people, right? They're literally brainwashing these people using various technologies and substances to literally rewire their brains remotely. They're using a sort of group brainwashing tactics. And it's pretty well documented how cults operate, how governments operate, and how they've been refining their social control techniques over the years and their technologies of control. And so we talk about the force, right? The police force, right? And force, in regards to rape, right? Forcible rape, right? They're connected, okay? The force in Star Wars, where it's modeled after the Greek system, where they have a Padawan, right? They have a mentor and someone who's being mentored. And in the Greek system, they used to do disgusting sexual acts with young boys, and it was known as pederasty. And there was a whole system of it. And they would bring them flowers and chocolates. You can't make this up. And Valentine's Day has everything to do with Lupercalia, and that Greco-Roman process is a story for another day. In fact, the word Roman is in the word romantic. The romantic, right? It's a bunch of LGBT people and a bunch of kind of arrogant whites and Jewish supremacists out there, like there was in Rome, okay? And token minorities help them like there was in Greece and Rome. And they do not like when people have true love. They want people to play a sort of game. In fact, a demon is said to be a skilled performer. And demon is odd men scrambled. If you think about the Greeks and their theater arts, they were very odd. And the Dionysian theater arts, the ritual madness, the religious ecstasy, what have you. Point number 2, that I'd like to bring up here. Okay, point number 1 is about the Satanists and their global governing class agenda, okay, and their theater arts. Point number 2, the politicians also operate within the social, political, and economic boundaries of the corporations and social clubs and theater arts. This includes the tens of thousands of people in college frats and their alumni. Point number 3, people are not insisting on my 7-point war on poverty plan, my global farming plan, and my healthcare analysis plan. Also, it would not hurt for there to be $200 billion a year added to the plan initially from the government and otherwise for affordable housing. Keep in mind that 8 to 9 million affordable housing units could be built or started in the first 2 years. These are much needed units. You can get it from wealth taxes, so there's no inflation from it. Okay? These things are needed badly. In fact, if you add that amendment to my plan, then you would see a whole lot of units being built here. 8 to 9 million affordable housing units built or started in the first 2 years. Now, why is this important? Why is this a part of it? Okay. Well, these riots, like the war in Gaza and Ukraine, they're distractions. When they plan this thing on a global stage, they think, what is the effect that they're going to have? What effect does war have? War profiteers don't just profiteer in terms of money. They profiteer in terms of sexual control and social control. So they're absolutely concerned with the effect that it's going to have. Cause and effect. They look at it scientifically. Look at Freemasons, for example. They're concerned first and foremost with philosophy and science, for social control, for building nations. Point number 4. Poverty is clearly at the center of the problem, and people have been trying to address it other people's way. and this has this has failed time and time again. They never offer a logical solution. And even though there are thousands of people working together in various groups, they never come up with a logical solution. Look at the Democratic Party, Republican, Libertarian, thousands of people in these groups. Many of them college professors, people with PhDs. There's still no solution offered. And it's right there in the word solution, right? The soul you shun. The one, the soul one, the A, the alpha, me. That's the solution. The soul is also, I believe it's Spanish for son. So you're shunning me. Also the SOL backwards to LOS, it was like LOSS, which is everyone else lost, in life, because martial arts are life paths. And my top martial arts challenge made it so I won. The word spar is like the word soar. Spirit, to spear something. Spirit is like the word, the word spirit is like the phrase spar it. Okay, spar it what? The spirit, the lifestyle, the life spirit, the way, the life, the truth, and life. Now they're making it hard for me to explain because they want to say things like, it's the word salad. Well, they're filming me. So first of all, I would like you to ask yourself, do you believe that the government fumes people and targets them and organizes harassment campaigns against them to make it harder for them to reason with society? Okay, because when they do that, they're betting that you're a fucking idiot who thinks that that doesn't occur. Now, some people might say, well, who are you to fume? I'm actually the most important person on the planet right now, logically. Not in terms of the media, not in terms of the sheeple getting together saying, yay, logically. I'm the son of the most moral brain surgeon in human history. I'm his namesake. I'm the top martial artist, right? Martial is marital scrambled, and I, Christ, am the bridegroom. See my proof on Christ playlist. I'm the son of God and the son of the most moral brain surgeon that ever lived, okay, at the same time. So why would they target me? Well, why wouldn't they target me? They're dumb, they're immature, they're like frat boys, military people hazing people. They're corrupt politicians, they're corporate psychopaths. They did a study and 1 in 5 CEOs are said to be psychopaths. Others are sociopaths and narcissists and just greedy scum and just indifferent, cold-hearted bastards and so on and so forth. So you put it past those types of people to target the most righteous person ever lived? When you think about focused moral intensity, righteousness as intensity, right? Who's more righteous new? Well, how intensely righteous are they? How precisely righteous are they? And you'll see that me striking at world record speed, conveying the spirit of God righteousness, not using some kind of energy moving tactic or trick, but striking with focused moral intensity from God, makes me the most righteous person that ever lived. Now, I went over time. I have like 19 points written down. We're only on point like 3. Let me just shoot through a couple more points, and in the next video we'll go through 15 points here. So point number 4, poverty is clearly at the center of the problem, and doing it. Okay, no, we went over that. Point number 5. The protesters underestimate their power, and the power of peaceful organization is uncontrolled opposition. Why? Because the governing class likes to force white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacist so-called solutions, which aren't really solutions. Point number 6, when organizations mismanage homeless funds, it is because the government let them in order to use them as strawmen, right? To say, hey, that's what happens when we try to actually solve homelessness, right? If you can buy a hamburger from McDonald's, they can buy land and supplies and build units for the homeless in a reasonable manner. Point number 7, there needs to be a central committee for the Democratic Party that is public and that presents a sound liberal party line. Wealth taxes with cost affordable spending. Wealth taxes with cost affordable spending. Doubling down on checks and balances when it comes to spending and audits, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, romantic justice, reproductive justice, religious freedoms, and other individual rights. Now, the Democratic Party, in its main state on the planet, can't even secure freedom of speech for me. Why the hell wouldn't they want to do that? If they're not the enemy of the people, why won't they secure freedom of speech for the most righteous person that ever lived, who's best described as a liberal, right? I'm open-minded. I just happen to come to a sound conclusion where they don't have a viable counter-argument, but I have an open mind. I'm for individual rights, okay? If you look at the list of things I'm talking about here, it's clear that I'm not a conservative. Okay. So they're feeling me pretty heavily here, causing me to lose my train of thought, and I urge you to understand that when someone's persecuted for being right, why everyone else is not persecuted for being right. If they're persecuted, it's for being controlled opposition at best. That I'm the one people should rally to, and they should make a big fuss about them targeting me, and they should say, stop fuming this guy. He's the only one who knows what to do. He's the one God set apart to lead. You need to do that. So again, their party line that they must push, and we'll end the video after this. They must talk about wealth taxes, cost affordable spending, doubling down on checks and balances when it comes to spending and audits, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, romantic justice, reproductive justice, religious freedoms, and other individual rights. Housing is a human right that is easily achievable, a well-regulated healthcare system with little to no profit for private corporations, no CRT, DEI, affirmative action, or Black Lives Matter agenda as they were not well thought out and are being used as straw men. And making it clear, they must make it clear that the gay agenda is taking place and it is at odds with basic human rights. Many LGBT people agree. We must also talk about immigration, including keeping families together and creating a region for the overflow. They must talk about the wage gap in a way that is universally fair. They must correctly define institutional racism and who's behind it. They must create various race-based colleges to replace the affirmative action policies and DEI and so on and so forth. They must look into school curriculums and effectively replace the CRT with something that is precise and sound that no one could complain about because it's just clearly justified. They must look into job programs to replace DEI as well. They must combat cults, combat domestic psyops, and also push for an end to internet censorship. They must pinpoint climate change, and they must talk about unions and the pros and cons of unions effectively and more. Okay, so we'll get into the other 12 points or whatever in the next video.